When Sony's BAFTA award-winning Cambridge studio announced they were developing a title inspired by horror films, fans of the more grisly side of gaming held their breath in anticipation. With a name like Ghosthunter, it was quickly evident this was going to be a spooky title with a difference. A startling hybrid of action, horror and addictive gameplay, Ghosthunter is a potent mix of the macabre and the supernatural. Following the adventures of Lazarus Jones, a Detroit cop turned Spectre hunter, players are drawn into a supernatural universe full of evil spirits and deadly monsters. Creative director James Shepherd picks up the story.
The kind of basic premise of Ghosthunter is that every man, creature, every living thing that is killed or dies before its kind of allotted time becomes a ghost. And they're stored in a thing called the Array, which is very simply is a ghost prison. At the start of the game, all the ghosts are trapped in there. Lazarus is a cop, he's young, he's keen, and he unwittingly frees them all from this machine. And the creatures, they come from the machine and they go out to every kind of, they go back to their original haunting grounds. And it's Lazarus's job to go around each area and hunt, collect, capture all the kind of creatures and get them back in the Array.
Ghosthunter's slick production values and movie-like visuals have become a talking point even amongst the most jaded gamers. Lead artist Jason Wilson.
The filmic qualities of Ghosthunter, because we're such film fans, we wanted to get a lot of that in the game. And films and games are coming together almost as one. The special effects are very, very similar. We use the same tools as special effects people, so it's a natural evolution of games that they would become more filmic. And we're very interested in good stories and good characters. We want to get a lot of character into the game. Even a lot of the ghosts have a lot of good characters. And there's a lot of secrets and little twists and turns that the game takes in the storyline, so the story should keep you quite riveted along with the gameplay of the game.
From the outset, the team realised it was imperative they created a tough but equally believable leading character.
What we wanted to do with Lazarus Jones is make a character that's very different from the other kind of third-person action-adventure characters out there, who are kind of like, undefeatable, monosyllabic, very, very macho, never have doubts, never kind of get scared, really. And we decided to build a character that was really cool, but was very verbal, did get scared, did sometimes have doubts, did sometimes, want to leave his kind of big quest. And so, whereas the other characters are kind of a bit like, Arnold Schwarzenegger or, Clint Eastwood, they're better than we're ever going to be. We wanted to do a character that was a bit more like kind of Bruce Willis or Will Smith, who, at your very, very best you could be.
With the visual bar set so high, lead programmer Julian Rex had to utilise all of the PlayStation 2's capabilities to ensure the gameplay equalled the film quality graphics and compelling storyline.
In Ghosthunter, the role between artists and programmers is much greater than it has been in previous projects, because ghosts, they're not just models, they're not just characters that you'd see in an ordinary game, they're very ethereal, and a lot of that takes a lot of special effects. So there's a great synergy between the programmers and the artists to create these creatures. The technology that we've got, it's kind of a multitasking AI system. Basically that means that the characters can do multiple things at the same time. They can run around, they can see things, they can fight, they can communicate with each other. And kind of like the structure of that is that there's this kind of shared knowledge. So if they're kind of working in packs, they can communicate with each other, and this kind of leads to a situation where you could be fighting a couple of guys and then not notice the fact that one of them has kind of snuck around the back and has outflanked you.
Motion capture and inverse kinematics played a large part in creating Ghosthunter's realistic feel.
We use motion capture on the main character, and something that we started doing at the start of the game was, rather than having 8-way directions, which is kind of common, we actually wanted to do something where it was a full 360 degrees of motion, so it looked really natural. But that's quite kind of difficult when you're working with motion capture and you're having to deal with the player's controls, where they can just be wiggling the stick as quick as they can. So that was a really tough thing to get right, and it's worked out really, really well. I'm really proud of the results, and it looked great.
looks really good. Part of the tool set for us to animate the characters, we use a system called inverse kinematics, which allows us to sort of take hold of a hand and place it wherever we want and the arm follow. Although that sounds quite, obvious thing to do, in computer terms that's quite a difficult thing to do. And each character has to be set up with this inverse kinematics. And therefore we don't, normally without it you'd have to rotate each joint individually. So to move, say, your hand from here to touch your face, you'd first have to rotate from the shoulder up and then rotate like this, which, works, but is very mechanical. So with inverse kinematics, you can just grab the wrist and just automatically, over time, move it to wherever you're going. And then you can tweak it to make it swing and look more realistic.
Generating ideas for the game was a real team effort, with artists and programmers alike encouraging each other to delve into their dark sides.
The process of designing Ghosthunter, me and James Shepherd and Julian Rex, the lead programmer, would get together and we'd talk about all the movies we've seen and great moments in games and all the things that inspire us. Me and James are very kind of geeky film buffs, and everything we talk about is in film terms and describing things from movies that no one knows what we're on about unless they watch a lot of horror films. So we sat down with a big sketchbook and we both doodled ideas out and came up with a whole host of weird ideas, and then it was my job to kind of visualize them further, and I would sketch them out as more detailed sketches, and then show James. He would say, no, add an extra orifice here or an extra head there or whatever. We kind of experiment creating all these different wonderful creatures, and some had to stay out of the game because they were too weird or looked too silly, but the ones we kept in the game were pretty scary.
Drawing players into the world of Ghosthunter required senior artist Tony Jackson to push the boundaries of game animation to new levels.
It's great to work on stuff that is fantastical. You can't see in everyday life that, you can just sort of let your imagination run wild. I can take a character and say, oh, this guy, he's sort of zombie-like, so you have to sort of almost get under his skin and think, well, how would that zombie move? And you've got like years of zombie movies, to sort of use as reference, so you can look at those and think, yeah, they're all stiff, what have you, and they're dragging certain limbs because they don't work. And it's great to take a character from the concept and then, almost live if his movements. And I really love to give them as much character as I can, rather than just sort of bog standard walk around. I really like to, if they're big and heavy, I want them to look big and heavy, so you sort of throw their limbs around and, try and give them a little life of their own.
But how can the player fight these strange creatures? Normal rules of combat hardly apply.
In terms of weapons, Lawrence is a cop and he's got real earth weapons. He's got shotguns and pistols and all that kind of stuff. And also he's got weapons that are kind of ghost hunting weapons, more kind of slightly high-tech sci-fi kind of weapons, which kind of use ghost energy against the ghosts. And as you capture ghosts, the ghosts almost become ammo. They give you energy to use your weapons again. But the key device in the game is the kind of capture grenade device, and it's the best way to think of it is it's like a kind of frisbee crossed with a Ouija board, and if you get it into a ghost, it kind of it sucks the ghost into this kind of this plane of existence. So you'll have a ghost that is really elusive and you can't really attack it with any of your weapons, and then you get the grenade into the ghost and it's brought into the plane of existence, and you can get your shotgun out and blast a massive hole out of it, and then weaken it and you capture it. And once the ghosts are really, really weakened, the grenade, that it will capture them and transport them back to the array.
Ghosthunter's action-packed gameplay, rich storyline and cinematic styling combines to create a title which will appeal not only to fans of the horror action genre, but to console players the world over, who demand that the same TLC devoted to big-budget movies is applied to computer games. With Ghosthunter, they won't be disappointed.